Hi, it's Rachel here from off-road.cc, and I want to let you know my thoughts on a bike I've been riding recently, the Specialized Epic. It's the brand's 29er 100mm full sus cross-country race bike. We're looking at the women's carbon comp version, but seeing as this has the same geometry and spec to match the unisex version, this review is totally applicable to you guys too. Specialized make no bones about it. The Epic is a race machine, born and bred, and with a massive number of race wins under its belt, they're clearly doing something right. For 2018, the Big S have completely redesigned the bike. It's a hell of a lot lighter, 525 grams to be precise. The suspension layout now boasts a single pivot design with flex stays rather than the FSR of old, and they've updated both the location and the inner workings of the brain, the company's inertia sensor linked to the rear shock. Aside from the brain shock, our carbon comp model gets RockShox Reba forks, a 1x11 SRAM GX drivetrain, a race face effect crankset and SRAM level TL brakes. At £3,500 it might appear a little pricey, but that premium includes that brain shock tech, which is pretty impressive. So onto the brain. The first big change this year sees a collaboration with RockShox rather than Fox that has been seen in the past. Secondly, the brain itself now sits just behind the rear axle, allowing it to be quicker to react. I should probably explain. The brain is an inertia valve system, so it knows the difference between inputs coming from the trail and from the rider. Specialized use it to tune the shock to have a firmer compression damping value for rider inputs compared to those coming from the trail. In short, the suspension is firm to a rider's pedalling inputs and then reacts to bumps in the trail transmitted upwards through the rear wheel. It's pretty neat and makes for a very efficient pedalling bike. Thirdly, Specialized have introduced a brain fade lever, which enables you to change the reaction of the brain through 5 different settings, from closed to fully open. With each setting, more oil is able to flow through the shock in each mode progressively. An input from the rear wheel causes the brass mass to lag as the brain reservoir moves upwards. In doing this, it lets the oil flow past it into the damper at a rate predetermined by the setting chosen. Crucially, the women's version of the bike also comes with a different shock tune, meaning the compression and the rebound of the shock have a lighter tune. Here, Specialized think that female riders won't weigh as much as their male counterparts and might not ride as hard. I didn't find that I blew through all the travel, which I might have if the shock was too light for me, and I managed to find a rebound setting that worked for my riding, so it seems Spec have the tune dialed here. It's clear when riding the Epic that the brain does its job admirably. There's very little lag between the valve opening for a big hit and closing again for pedal efficiency. In all but the fully open though, I did feel a slight clunk as the internals move, reacting to input from the rear wheel. And the ride isn't plush by any means, but then it's not supposed to be. There's plenty of trail feedback, both through the hands and through the feet, as the suspension skips over the terrain. I found leaving the brain fade lever in one step less than open was the sweet spot. Here it will let the rear wheel grip as it up chunky climbs and be ready for the descents without too much of that aforementioned clunkiness. Speaking of those uphills, the Epic will goad you to go faster and faster at every given uphill opportunity. It's an accomplished climber, and the fact that it's light on the scales at just a hair's breadth under £25 and the relatively long chainstays at 438mm see to that. The seat angle isn't too bad either, but steepening it even further from the 74.75 degrees, combined with maybe lengthening that top tube a bit, would improve the Epic's climbing ability further, putting the rider's weight further forwards and helping them keep the front end on the ground on technical climbs. When pointing this thing in the downhill direction, it's clear that Specialized have made an effort to make this little bike feel more like a trail bike than an all-out racer, which I think is a really good thing. The Epic's head angle has been slackened to 69.5 degrees, a whole degree and a half slacker than last year, and they could still certainly lose another degree without causing any detriment to the bike's handling. Interestingly, Specialized have shortened the offset of the fork on this bike. It's now 42mm rather than the 51mm usually seen on a 29er. In short, the effect of this makes it easier for the rider to weight the front wheel, which all adds up to a less twitchy feeling on the trail. There are a couple of spec upgrades that I want to make before hitting the trails or entering a race. I'd improve traction by swapping out the lightweight fast track tyres for something with a chunkier tread. I'd also stick a dropper post in. There's routing for it, and with many XC pros choosing to use one, I know I would too. In all, if you're looking for a full suspension cross-country bike, then you could do a whole lot worse than go for a Specialized Epic. It's a competent bike, and this spec is a race-ready machine, and a not too bad a price either. It's tech-savvy, with the brain shock reacting quickly to trail inputs, which I doubt a rider could emulate. It all makes for an efficient cross-country package that might only be improved by some small geometry tweaks. So for a full review on this bike, you can head over to www.off.road.cc now. So until next time, thanks for watching.